Green juice detoxing. How do you do it right? How do you do it properly so you get long-term results and you feel fantastic, you reach your health goals and everything in between? On this video I'm going to share with you a specific protocol which will help you through the process to do it the right way so you can achieve all of your goals. The green juice detox. How do you do green juice detox correctly? So on this video I'm going to cover 4 key parts. Part 1, we're going to cover the do's. Part 2, the don'ts. Part 3, what you can expect. And then part 4 is the actual protocol. How do you actually do it? So I just wanted to explain specifically what's different about this juice cleanse protocol over any other juice. This juice cleanse contains no fruit sugars. So the reason behind that is that we're going to essentially train your body to burn fat as opposed to sugar. I'll give you a kind of example, best example I have. If you imagine a marathon runner, so you're running the marathon, I think it's about 26 miles. Marathon runners have to go through this process, and when they hit about 20 kilometers or 18 kilometers, they hit a process where they're completely fatigued. There's no energy left. They're struggling to get through to the finishing line. That last 6 miles is insanely difficult. That's what's called the wall. So marathon runners often hit the wall when they run out of glucose. So glucose is basically a primary energy source for your brain, for your body to function at a certain level. Now, it's not the only source. So now what science is discovering is that there's this other way that your body can function, which is through burning fat. So marathon runners, once they've hit and gone past the threshold and used all the glucose in their body, then they have to go through that transition phase, which is almost like a flu-like symptoms of just lethargy, cold sweats, all sorts of things, where they go through what's called the keto flu, which is basically where your body starts going into ketosis. So it starts transitioning from burning glucose to burning fat, and during that process can be quite uncomfortable. So during this cleanse you are going to feel that, unless you're already a fat burner, which 99% of the population aren't, because we're just so trained to consume sweet things. So it's to point out that ketosis is going to happen during this process, and you're also adopting a very alkaline lifestyle, so you're going to be drinking alkaline vegetables and fruits. So let me give you this metaphor. Imagine you've got a match and you've got a candle. So the match, you light it and then it's gone out within seconds. With a candle, you light it and it can go for hours and hours and hours and hours. So when you go into ketosis, you've got a much bigger reserve of fat in your body than you have of glucose, and it's a different type of fuel. So your brain actually functions more optimally in that way. Your brain, your body feels more vibrant, everything slows down, but it's kind of like a little bit more of a stable pace, whereas if in glucose you're kind of like that. It's like a roller coaster. So my goal is for you to experience and go into that kind of process of that feeling of that kind of smooth, slow burn, and to experience ketosis. But the challenge is that you will go through a threshold of like a kind of flu-like symptoms. You won't get a temperature, but you'll feel very low in energy, a bit down, a bit depressed. You will go through that process. It's not unusual, because we're going to take your body into ketosis. But then once we do that, then your body will start burning your body fat. So especially if you're looking to lose weight, this is a great way to do that. And it's also great to experience what it's like to burn fat. So you become addicted to it. This is so much more satisfying than this kind of roller coastery ride, and I want to feel like this more. How do I do that? So you begin to ask the question and you begin to say, right, I need to eat more of those foods. Then you can start looking into long term. Obviously it's to improve your diet and eat less sugary things and more things with good quality fats. I'm not saying all fats. It's a critical part that you obviously don't drink like fucking sunflower oil or those kind of hybridized fats that they use to cook chips in and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope that explanation kind of frames this detox in a different way to how you might experience different detoxes. Goes to the first part of juice detoxing. This is a critical part. First one is to make sure that you're taking time out to rest. It's a really good idea to allow yourself the time to rest and relax, because there's going to be times when you're feeling a bit down, low. Sometimes your mind will do some strange things. Your body will want to just crash and sleep and not do anything, and just allow yourself to do that. You've got to give yourself the space to do that. And also, most important thing is, if you can, like I'm here in Bali, do it in a place, in a location where you're away from all the stresses of your everyday life. You've got to get out of your environment into a new environment where you've got nothing planned in your day, and just other than drinking juice and sleeping and maybe some exercise and some massage. Point 2 is to incorporate some kind of breathing practice. I can't stress how important this is. You think about our lungs, like what would we be without our lungs, or this kind of critical organ system? Without oxygen, we don't have the possibility of, surviving for less than, say, 3-4 minutes. We can't do without oxygen for more than 3-4 minutes in some cases, unless you're a trained free diver or something like that. Okay, so it's really important that you allow yourself time to breathe, and that's learning to breathe properly and not just sitting there and meditating. Okay, I'm not denying that meditation, I have been using that as a tool, and that might be the time where you're doing your breathing practice, but you've got to learn to breathe properly. So we have got another video on the correct form of breathing practice, so we'll post this. There'll be a link on this video somewhere, a little I with a link to the video, so make sure you save that to the playlist and go use that when you're on your detox daily, if not 3 times daily ideally. 3 is to make sure that you're drinking enough water. Not only the amount of water, but make sure that you specifically check out the right amount for your body weight, but ideally it's going to be somewhere around 3 to 5 litres depending on how active you're being. But also make sure that you've got enough electrolytes. If you're feeling dizzy, nauseous, or feeling like shit, quite often that could be a result of just replenishing your electrolytes, and then you're feeling better again. And the type of electrolytes I mean are simple: bicarb soda, also very alkaline, which we'll go into more detail in another video. Also the correct type of electrolyte. So what do I mean? Simple things like lemon juice, Himalayan salt, bicarb soda. Those 3 things in some water will totally sort you out, and it will just help to replenish your electrolytes. You'll feel better and you won't have any problem. Point 4 is to exercise daily. Now the temptation is, when you're on a juice detox, you're feeling like shit, you don't really want to move, not all the time, but you might have periods of time like that. Obviously, if you're not feeling well, then don't push yourself. But if you're just feeling a bit tired, exercise is the best thing. This is what will kind of really restore your energy. Now, I'm not talking about going out and running a marathon. I'm talking about doing some light exercise that's going to bring on a light sweat, like yoga or Tai Chi, or something that is going to have you perspire a little bit. Or alternatively, if you're not willing to do any exercise, get in a sauna, but you must sweat. Like, our skin's responsible for 20% elimination of all the toxins that come out of you, so you might as well sweat. You might as well use this opportunity to sweat and get rid of all the toxins, as many as you possibly can, during the process. 5 is to get guidance. If you haven't done this before, don't do it on your own. Don't just drink 3 juices a day and think you're handling it. As things come up, this is a process that, to do it correctly, takes some education, takes some knowledge, takes some know-how. So work with an expert, work with someone, go to a retreat centre, do it with a group of people, which is much more fun anyway, because you're kind of collaborating, you're mutually heading towards similar goals. So it's a great idea that you don't just do this alone, because it can be a lonely process. 6, during this process, you're going to feel better at the end of this. There's no doubt about it. You will feel better. You'll feel more rested, you'll feel more vibrant, you'll feel more alive, you'll feel better overall. Don't just do that process for 5 weeks. And how are you taking this into your daily life? What specific goals do you have? Now I'm going to cover a bit more about this in the protocol, but it's really essential that during your detox process that you actively use this process to make a commitment to ongoing long-term health. 7, slow down. When I say slow down, you're going to have to slow down anyway. So just allow your mind to just soften. Take up a practice of meditation. I'm not a daily meditator, but by all means I'm not suggesting that you become some kind of yogi guru hippie. I'm just suggesting that you sit quietly and with your thoughts and acknowledge that quite a lot of your thoughts are just complete garbage, and to separate yourself from your thoughts and to acknowledge that it's not real. It's just a thought process, it's your mind playing tricks, and allow yourself to just look at a fucking cloud in the sky and fucking enjoy it, because it's great. Look at a butterfly, just that's what I mean, just slow down, allow the process of life to kind of just pass you by and just be part of it rather than just zooming around like a crazy person. 8 is to self-reflect. So it's to take some time to self-reflect, what is not working in your life, what is working. Acknowledge the great things, acknowledge also the things that you want to take out, and just how are you going to alter, how are you going to change your life going forward, because this is a great process to go through where you're looking at this as well. There's some kind of self-reflection. So the don'ts of green juice detoxing. 1, don't give up. Don't give up all the things that I suggested. For example, if you don't feel like doing exercise one day and then you feel just get into the habit of not doing it, just use your mind to make you stronger. Go and do those things, follow those practices daily. The idea of this is to get you into a good routine. It's to break your current routine and to give you new routines that optimize your lifestyle and improve your life. So take this time to actually make this work in your life, to challenge yourself, to challenge your mind, to push yourself. When you're feeling giving up, obviously don't push yourself if you're feeling ill, you're in pain. I'm not suggesting that at all, but also a time to strengthen your mind and your body. 2 is a common thing that I always do, not always, I'm getting better at it now. But because I'm a foodie, I love food, I'm sure you do too, and what I have a tendency of doing is finishing a juice detox and then I just eat like a pig, and it's I just get back into eating the foods that I'm trying to avoid again. Just don't do that. So I'll tell you how to avoid that when we discuss the protocol. 3, don't try and do this on a full schedule. If you're working a long day and you're trying to juice detox, it just doesn't work. You're going to be feeling immensely stressed. You're not going to give yourself time to self-reflect. You have all these emotions coming up, so you're not going to be able to be productive in your work. I've tried it and it doesn't work. Allow yourself the time. 4, don't torture yourself. Where I am right now in Bali, I've just completed about 5-6 days cleansing now, and I went out one night and there was just all these amazing smells and food and just being around restaurants and oh my God, it was just like amazing. It just kind of just makes things hard, but also that you appreciate eating, but also, you know, when the time does come for you to break the fast, is that you might have that tendency to then go and eat like a pig, and just don't do that. Okay, so green juice detox, what you can expect from doing one of these. So the first point is emotions come up. So it might be something from the past that you haven't thought about for a while, maybe a person, maybe your career, maybe you're dissatisfied with something in your life, but you've kind of been just putting it under the carpet, but now it's confronting. All of that stuff has the potential to come up in this process, because essentially when you stop eating, you're breaking an emotional pattern, because so much of our daily habits that we get into without consciousness, which is quite frequent in the Western world, you have a tendency of using that as a way to kind of dumb down certain emotions. So it kind of feels pretty shit sometimes. So you're going to have those things that come up, and then suddenly you make it mean something about you. So you need an outlet to do that. Just expect that to happen, and don't be afraid of it. Like, it doesn't mean anything. 2, you can become aware of addictions. Like for me, I've just done one. I'm very conscious of my addiction to work, to my phone, to food, to sex, to all these kind of common things that you crave. You need some kind of dopamine rush to do that, and the more that you can stop yourself in the process of like going into that mode, the better. Like, you might not be perfect, and just give yourself a break if you're not. There's nothing wrong. You're still doing this for a good purpose and a good reason. You'll still get something out of it, but you just expect that those addictions or needing to do something is going to come up. And it's your ability to, whether you choose to respond to that or not, that will make a difference in your growth process during the cleanse. 3, you're going to get periods of feeling depressed, sad, lonely. Also going to get experiences of satisfaction, surges of energy that you haven't probably ever experienced before, clarity of mind, sadness, anger. All sorts of colours of emotions come up during this process, and it's to acknowledge that they're there. There's nothing that you need to do about them, but they will come up, and just rather than pushing them away, allow them to come up, allow them to just run through you, allow them to do what they're meant to do. We're meant to experience all colours of the emotions, good and bad, and there's nothing wrong with any of them. It's just that they're there, we're experiencing them, and we've just got to learn to allow ourselves to do that. 4, you're also going to feel feelings probably of ecstatic euphoria, have moments of just like, I can't believe this is me, like I'm in this body. Moments of almost like incredible clarity, moments of feeling like you've never ever felt in your life, moments where you feel like there's everything perfect in your life, there's nothing wrong. And you can expect to feel that's why people do these, because it's an incredible process. It's like there's a different set of new energy that you discover from doing this process. And the reason I gave up drugs so easily is because someone recommended that I follow one of these, and I felt ecstatic euphoria, which was better than any kind of ecstasy tablet or line of cocaine that I'd ever taken, and it didn't have any detrimental effects. So I was like, this is a much more sustainable way of living, and actually it's quite enjoyable because I don't have a come down afterwards, right? So you're going to have those feelings. This is the benefit. This is why you're doing it. This is the experience. This is the joy. This is the fucking amazing part of why you should do these. Apart from the health benefits of just your body, all of your sensations in your body waking up, your fingers, your toes, your kind of all your different muscle systems feel like they're just working in sync together, because it will develop over time. Like, you may not experience that in the first one, but maybe you need to do 5 or 6 before you get there. But this is why people do them. This is the joy of doing them, because you get to experience an incredible passion for life again. 5 is greater connection to everyone and everything. And what I mean by this is, like, you start to realise, like, people smiling at you, you've got a glow in your skin or an energy and a demeanour about you, and so people will acknowledge that and see that in you, and that it's kind of mirrored back to you. You also like notice like these synchronicities that begin to happen, like naturally there's an organic flow of life happening again, the way that it's meant to be, almost like this kind of flow that it just, everything seems so easy and simple and great and fun, and just the experiences and connections that you have with people are great because you just wake up, you know, you stop being pissed off at people, you stop being stressed. It's like awesome. 6, your sleep will probably improve, but it might not improve to begin with. Like, I've had moments where I've just woken up every couple of hours, not because I'm hungry or anything, but just kind of drift in and out of consciousness. And that's just kind of how it is when you're doing one of these. So it's almost like your body's processing or just letting things happen. And so don't expecting to get amazing sleep, because it won't always happen, but also you can have amazing sleep. You can start to have amazing dreams because you're not digesting anything anymore. So yeah, that's a really great encapsulation of what you can expect in this process. The protocol for doing a green juice detox my way, and in my opinion this is probably the best way because I've refined it over many years, and I find that even though it's a bit harder, that the results that you get are far more satisfying and beneficial at the end. Okay, so some fundamentals, kind of 11 key points that I want to cover in this protocol that if you follow, I guarantee that you'll feel euphoric, you'll feel ecstatic, you'll feel amazing, your skin will glow, you'll feel probably in the best health that you've ever felt, and you'll just love it. You'll have a different experience of wanting and desiring to take care of your long-term health and to implement new decisions what you eat based on choice rather than I need to have that because somebody told me to. So it will be almost like ingrained inside you. So the first point I want to cover is to know your outcome, know what you want to achieve from doing this. This is the most critical part of it. If you haven't seen my videos on 10 common mistakes that people make when making changes to their health, I highly recommend you check out at least one of those, which is about setting goals around your health. But it's to look at, okay, what are you wanting to achieve by doing this? Are you wanting to lose fat? Are you wanting to gain energy? Are you wanting to get mental clarity? Maybe it's all of those. But the more specific you can be, the better. So for example, for me, at the moment, I've just completed one. My goal with this was just to emotionally detox, but also most importantly just allow myself time out, a break, my body to just reset and reset some eating habits. But my main one that's very specific, and you should always have something that's very specific, is body fat percentage. So I've been going to the gym quite often and I have not been able to shift my body fat percentage. It's always stayed around between 17 to 20, and I haven't been able to get it below that. So my goal is to basically to get it to 13%. So that's very specific and I can measure that. This is something else that I'm trying to see how that impacts it. So before you go on this, know your outcome, because this is not something that's going to happen just in this 7 days. It's not, it's going to just catapult me in the right direction. This is going to happen over 3 months, right? So think over 3 months, like where do you want to be in 3 months? Where do you want yourself to be? What is your goal? What's your outcome? What are you aiming to achieve in that time? 2, if it's the first time you've done this, and I'm going to recommend that the juices and the smoothies that I recommend are all non-sugar based. So they're all alkaline. Now you might not like the taste of these, and you might find them as not as palatable as perhaps other people, but you will get used to them. Like the first few times you're like, oh my god, this guy's serious. And then you start getting used to them and you realise it works. But my recommendation is is that it's the first time you've done it, and you start on the smoothies, you start having the fibre within the food. So it'll just be a more gentle approach. So the first 3 days that you have smoothies, we've got a link into my ketogenic green smoothie. I'll be doing more of those as well. Also ketogenic soup I think we've got, and also an alkaline green juice. So all of those links will be posted below this video. So any of those drinks are basically complementary of this protocol. The point is that if it's the first time you're doing it, you incorporate the fibres for the first 3 days, and then the last 2 days you just do the juices. 3, this protocol doesn't include any fructose, so fruit sugars. So I'm recommending green juices. We've got some juices that kind of complement that, but they're low in sugar, very low sugar fruits, so lemon and limes you can use to kind of really make it taste good. But any other high sugar fruits, this is perhaps why I don't agree with a lot of the juice cleansers out there. Yes, they're great for replenishing minerals and vitamins and all of that stuff, but they're not so great because they incorporate a lot of fruit sugars, and then your body's still burning sugar as a fuel instead of fat. And so my goal by the end of this is that you're going to be burning fat as a fuel. You're going to experience that. 4 is to drink consciously, and equally we've also got how much water you should drink in a day, so that link is posted below in the description for that video, so I highly recommend you check that out. And when I say drink consciously, I mean have sips. Don't just neck a pint and then neck a pint every hour. It's better if you're just taking sips here and there and you're just drinking all day long. 5, use essential fats. So see, I've got this Udo's oil here. Udo's oil is a great supplement for daily use, in fact, but it's amazing especially for detoxing. So this is what I use if I'm feeling very low in energy, but quite often what I'll do is I'll have this with me in the morning or at lunchtime, so I can have 100 mils of it in the morning and maybe another 100 mils at lunchtime if you're feeling a bit off. But when you're feeling off, again, this is a great tool because it'll make you feel better, you'll get your energy back, and it really helps for all of the cells in your body to release the toxic waste that's coming out. So highly recommend that you use that as a tool to help you feel better and to support you in the detoxification process. 6, good quality multivitamin. This isn't essential because you're going to get a lot of the vitamins from the juices. I would also recommend that you use them, especially if it's the first time, second time. Make sure you get a plant source, organic. I don't have a specific brand to recommend here, unfortunately, but don't just get any old brand from Brutes. Get a plant source one with no crappy ingredients in it. Kind of do your research. I will post a link down to a good quality one in this video when we've found it. I've been just using one from the health resort and I don't have it with me, so forgive me, and I have checked it out. It's a good quality one, but highly recommend. That's an important factor, especially if you're doing it for the first time. 7, find a formula that removes the toxic waste from your bowels, from your body. So as you can see, I've got 3 things in fact which are great, which will support the process. One is chlorella paranoidosa. So it's a specific type of chlorella. This one's from Key Science. Basically what that does, it's not just any chlorella. Be careful about what you buy because there are some bad chlorellas out there, and most of it's vulgaris, which is a different type of chlorella. This specific chlorella kind of sucks things up, and then it's a binder to toxins. So anything that's coming out will bind to the chlorella and then it will come out of you. The problem is you start detoxing and it can just get stuck and just get reabsorbed into your bloodstream. So this stuff is amazing for just sucking it up, taking it out. So is this. I recommend just using either or, not both. This one specifically brand, I like this intestinal drawing formula. Things like bentonite clay, charcoal, especially chia seed, slippery elm bark. Yeah, it's got lots of great stuff in it. Zeolite, of course, zeolite clay and bentonite clay. So that stuff is great at sucking things out and removing them so that they come out your bowels. So it's like a great tool for that. Now you have to be careful, because I have in the past, I've taken too much of it and then it's just clogged me up. So you have to be a bit careful about how much you take. So just take a teaspoon, maybe once a day or twice a day. And you've got to find your own balance of what's the right amount for you. And then if you do get clogged up, there is this intestinal moving formula. So this will help your intestines to move things through. It wasn't necessarily appropriate for me because my bowels are moving fairly well at the moment anyway, so I didn't need to use this. But if you've got a fairly stagnant bowel, you're not moving at least once or twice a day, then this is probably a good tool to use. If you are, then you probably don't need it, but then you might need it if you OD on this. So it's kind of like you've got to balance these two things out a bit. 8, I highly recommend that you do colonics. Finding a decent colonic hydrotherapist is essential, not just doing any one. I've had some bad experiences and I've got kind of pretty mixed results. A good colonic hydrotherapist just understands the process that you're going through. They also understand how to manipulate or just massage your belly in the right way. It's worth doing a research to find, or paying a bit more to get a decent colonic hydrotherapist. Or come to a retreat centre where they have one, or at worst case scenario do an enema, but an enema is perhaps less effective, but it still does a good job. So definitely incorporate that into this program. It's a very important part of it, because you've got to remove all of that waste and support it to come out. The next point is to make sure you have a probiotic. I don't have one here. I've been taking again the resorts. They've been giving me daily probiotics. I didn't bring any with me. A specific brand I recommend is the Megaspore probiotic. It is expensive, but basically the difference with the Megaspore probiotic is it's almost like the seed of the probiotic instead of the actual probiotic. It's almost like it's planting a seed instead of like most probiotics, so they're kind of plant that's already grown and they put it in the ground. With the Megaspore, it's not only just the seed and then allowing the seed to grow, it also has a much wider spectrum of the correct bacteria that we need in our gut. So Megaspore probiotics are awesome. Highly recommend that you use that as your formula during this process. The only drawback I'd say with that one is it can make your tummy feel a bit strange sometimes if you're new to it, but it soon corrects itself. But that's normally a good point. It's kind of just process of something new. It doesn't do anything to your gut. Final point is, if you've done this before, I wouldn't recommend this for first timers, but if you have done this before, I highly recommend that you end this. So on the 4th or 5th day, you do a liver flush. What is a liver flush? For those of you who don't know, there's a very famous health book by Andreas Moritz called The Amazing Liver Flush or something like that. Read that book if you can, if you have any interest, but you don't necessarily need to. The advantage of doing a liver flush is it has everything function after you've done it at a higher level, because we have these stones in our liver that we're not even aware of, we're not told about, but we have these kind of globules of fat that's stuck in the bile ducts of your liver. And at the end of a juice fast is the best time to do a liver flush, and they're awesome. I've just completed one this morning and I'm blown away all the time by what comes out. It's without going into too much detail, it's both scary and exciting, because you realise you don't no longer have that in your liver bile ducts anymore, and then afterwards you feel so much lighter and more alive again. It's an incredible feeling. So highly recommend that you complete that with a liver flush, but doing it in the right way. I will do another video on liver flushing the correct way, or what I believe is the correct way. And then finally is to complete your juice detox with at least another 24 hours when you go onto solid foods of just having raw foods. Don't go back to cooked foods yet. Slowly allow your digestive system to have water-rich foods, high in water, high in the correct enzymes, food to be digested in, and just eat well. Get into specific raw salads. Go to a raw restaurant. Go to a restaurant that has a vegan menu. Stay away from the animal proteins for at least another 24-48 hours if possible, and just enjoy it. Stop and savor every mouthful you take and chew slowly. So if you like what I shared today, then please subscribe to my channel. I've got plenty more videos coming your way. Whether you're interested in healthy living, you want to learn some new healthy recipes, I'm going to be interviewing some cutting edge experts. I've got some cutting edge ideas to share with you that I'll be testing out, supplements I'll be reviewing. So I've got stacks of stuff coming your way. So make sure you subscribe right now. See you on the next video.